Thinking of buying a house? If you wondered, can I afford a house? You're asking yourself the wrong question. The question you should be asking is, how much can you afford? Buying a house may seem like an impossible task, but so many people are buying homes today, you have to think about it. How are they doing it? Stay tuned for the following tips to help guide in thinking about buying a house. Start here. First 3 steps. If you only recently started thinking about buying a house, or it's never even crossed your mind, think about it. I think you may be surprised how easily it can be once you have the right information. And at a minimum, even if you don't have any immediate plans, you still need to know what's required so that when the opportunity comes up or the wish to buy a house comes along, you're well informed and know exactly what you need. First, if you're going to finance your property, meaning you're going to take out a loan, you need to find out how much you can borrow. In order to determine that, most lenders take into account how much you earned over the last 2 years. So, tip number 1, please make sure that you have work history of at least 2 years. Even better if it's in the same employer or in the same field, with the expectation that there are no immediate changes around the time that you're purchasing. Second tip, what is your credit history? Do you have a good history of making payments on time? People always misunderstand what is credit. Credit is a combination of 2 things. 1, how much buying power do you have, which is correlated to how much you have in disposable income. There's a big difference in making $20,000 a year and making $100,000 a year. Clearly, the second person can purchase a lot more. That does not mean one has better credit than the other. That's just simply shopping power. The second factor is, what's your history for making payments on time? So, as you can see, not only do you need to work on improving your income, the lenders will take into account what is your payment history. To start, you must ensure that over the past year or 2, you have made every single payment on time. No late payments, no missed payments, no default. How do you do that? If you've always paid your bills on time, then you should be all set. But if you do not, now's the time to start working on your credit. Here's my 2 tips to help you out. First, instead of waiting for when a payment is due, simply pay it as soon as you get it. You think, oh gee, I'm getting more time to pay if I pay it just before it's due. But you're taking a risk that if that payment doesn't get processed on time, or if it's misdirected or delayed, you will get a late payment. In addition, you will have a late fee. On the other hand, if you pay bills as soon as you receive them, you will know that you've paid them on time and you are paying them exactly the same amount of time apart. Just because you wait for the 15th and then pay the next 15th, that's still the same as paying it on the 1st and paying again on the 1st. Second tip, if you are not very well organized in what bills are due first and what bills are due second, I strongly recommend that you start on the 1st of the month with a clean white piece of paper and start writing where your money is going. The big bills will come very easily, such as your current rent, your car insurance, your utilities, phone bill, etc. You might have a car payment or a health insurance bill. But keep track of all those other little bills that you keep paying on a monthly or recurring basis. You might have a gym membership. You might have an automatic payment for, electronic system or a credit card, simply because that's what you pay as a minimum. If you keep track on a monthly basis where your money goes, you will definitely have an idea of how much you're spending on each item. And my goal is not to criticize where the money goes, but you personally need to be aware of how you're spending your money. And then you have to make a decision. Are those smart choices? Because if you truly want to buy a house in the future, The only way that's going to be possible is saving for a down payment. It can be as little as 3.5%, but you still need those savings in hand when you're ready and the house pops up on the market. In addition, you also have to account for closing costs. But again, I don't want to get overly complicated on how it works. You simply need to understand goal number one, pay on time and find out where your money's going and save for that down payment. If you want to buy a house, you also need to think about your future. Are you buying a property where you want to live? Clearly, there will be a desire to live somewhere where houses may be more expensive than you can afford, but that doesn't mean that you can't find a house nearby. So, in order to determine where you can buy a house, you need to find out how much you can afford. And only with that information can you get an idea of what's the median price in a particular city or county where you're looking. If you can find the house where you want to live, then great, you've accomplished the goal of qualifying for a loan and being able to buy where you want to live. If that goal is not yet achievable, then it's simply a goal, something that you can work towards. Whether you save more for a down payment, whether you wait to get a raise, or wait to get a better job that pays more. My advice is simply that knowing what factors are important will help you make a decision so that you are in control of your life and your decision to buy a house. You also want to think about your commute. Where will you be working and how long do you see yourself there? If you've had a steady job for years, chances are you're not going to be changing that, and you simply need to take into account your commute. You will notice that as you get further and further away from a metro city, chances are houses will be cheaper. But on the other end, you will have a longer commute. You must balance a reasonable commute with a reasonable price for the house. Bonus tip: ignore what real estate investors do. Ignore all the people that have 10 or 20 houses. In the end, the majority of the people can barely afford their first home. So do not think you can't do it. You simply have to understand that everybody always started with their first house. Owning a house opens opportunities that you may have not thought possible in the past. So just don't think it's impossible. Think, it's possible, what do I need to know, and how do I get started? And that's my goal with these videos, to teach you and help you make decisions that help you along the way so that you understand the process and can make it easier. Sometimes talking about making a big purchase simply seems impossible, and we ignore the impossible and simply push it off and we'll deal with it another time. But if you realize anything worth doing requires preparation, and I just simply want to point out, I'm sure you've met and know friends and family that have been able to acquire a house who have regular jobs just like you. What's the difference? They've made a decision to change their lives. They've made a decision for stability, and you can rely on them to figure out what did they do, what steps they took, and how long did it take to buy a house. You simply need to realize that if you want to achieve a goal, you have to work hard towards it. So stay tuned for step 2 to buy a house coming up. If you've enjoyed this video, please share it with a friend. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more.